Hi, Sam Roberts here from Roberts Geospatial Engineering. Today I'm going to use ProRaster Essential to take a look at Greenland, which is very topical. So I've just opened the GEBCO 2025 dataset. This is terrain and bathymetry. So you can get ProRaster Essential from the Microsoft Store. You can download and install it for free. You get a 7-day free trial. And you can go to either the GEBCO website to acquire this data that we're going to look at, or you can go to my robertsgeospatial.com.au website where you can download it as a single data set ready to display. So let's just build up an algorithm here. There's GEBCO, so I'm going to go in and change the color table to this Atlas color table. So we have blue for oceans and greens and browns for terrain. I'm going to dial down the shadow and intensity a bit because we're really more interested in color at this point. So I'm going to up this color intensity balance. So we've got something that's a bit flatter. So there's our starting algorithm. And as you can see, we have North America here, and here's Greenland displayed at the top. Now I might just turn off my webcam so that you can see the view. So in this Mercator projection, there's a few things to note. Firstly, Greenland has this sort of big hurricane type funnel appearance, quite distorted shape. It appears as though it's right off here to the northeast of North America. And of course it appears that it's very large compared to North America, and over here we have Sweden and Finland and so forth, Norway. And over here Iceland. So this is quite a distorted view of Greenland, and we're going to change that by coming into our algorithm and changing the coordinate system. Perhaps I'll go into the coordinate system chooser, go to projections of a hemisphere, and I'm going to choose the North Pole. So now we can see that Greenland appears quite different. So the North Pole's right here somewhere. Greenland is now much smaller compared to here's North America over here. It has a quite different shape, no longer a kind of a funnel shape, more of a ellipsoidal shape. And as you can see, it really straddles across the northern part of Canada and North America, rather than being right off to the side. It appears more central in this view. So let's just look at the size of Greenland. We can compute that very roughly just using our area tool. So if I draw a polygon, just very roughly, we're not going to get an accurate number here, but we'll get an indication. Polygon around Greenland, and we get our report here. So we're looking, so that polygon was about 2.4 million square kilometers. I think if you go to Google, it'll tell you it's more like 2.1, 2.2 million square kilometers. So that's what we're talking about. Comparing it to something like over here we have Sweden and Norway and Finland. It's probably about twice the size of that whole collection of, let's do a little bit of calculation. We'll just go around the outside here. So that area is about 1.3 million square kilometers. So yeah, Greenland is about twice the size of Norway, Finland, and Sweden all put together. Let's come into our algorithm, and I'll just add in a web map overlay so we can see some labels. It immediately changes the projection, so I'll go back to our North Pole. Where did I put that? North Pole. So now we've got a few labels on things. So you can see Iceland over here, the UK. It's going to take a while to catch up now because it has to download everything off the web. The UK over here, Norway, Sweden, Finland. And of course, this whole area over here is Russia all the way around to Alaska over here, then northern Canada, and then Greenland here, right the way back to Iceland. I'm going to take that off again. So you can see that topographically, Greenland is sort of rough around the edges and then smooth across the middle. So what are we looking at? Well, of course, it's an ice cap. So let's just draw a profile across that ice cap and you'll get a picture for what it looks like. So you can see that it's a giant, big, smooth dome. And on the edges, we have some mountains. So if I draw from here to here, for example, you'll see the mountains on the edge here, and then the big dome going all the way across. Going across the sort of this highest area, we're looking at about 3.2 kilometers high at the highest point of the dome. So with profiling, we can draw multiple profiles, and I'll put them into a projected coordinate system so that they're all lined up. So let's draw multiple profiles across the dome. 1, 2, and you can see they start to all get drawn in the same coordinate system, so you can make comparison. There's the highest section. And so you can see you start to get a feel for the shape of the ice dome as you go from north down to south. Let's look at it in 3D. So I'll come across to my algorithm and I'll add a 3D surface. So onto this surface we're going to put all of our other algorithm layers. So I'm going to use Gebco25 as the 3D surface. Now I'm going to zoom in to the area that I'm interested in, perhaps like that. And then, in fact, what I'll do is I'll bring this over here, over this side, and then zoom in. Perhaps like that. And then I can go push to 3D map, and it's going to create a 3D view. Now let me line that up here somehow. Windows. I can't work it out anymore. So here's our 3D view. So now we get a really good picture for the mountains around the outside of Greenland, and then the dome across the whole middle. And what's interesting is that even though the dome is 3.2 kilometers high, the mountains around the edge of the dome are significant and are comparable in size to the ice dome itself. So from a resources perspective, I'd imagine that you're not going to be doing any mining of any kind in the dome. So if there's going to be any resource extraction, it'll be in these mountainous areas around the outside of Greenland. And if there's any oil and gas extraction, it's going to probably come from this continental shelf around Greenland. You can see that that's actually quite restricted. There's hardly any shelf at all around here. And it gets a bit wider as we head out towards Iceland. And up here in the northwest, as we head towards Russia, it gets more extensive. And so perhaps there's more exploration potential up there. I don't know. Of course, the higher you go, the further north you go, the more ice you get. So that's what Greenland looks like in 3D. Let's take that away again. Come back to our normal view. So something that I haven't heard mentioned, but that certainly is in my mind, is the so-called Golden Dome, the missile defense system that Donald Trump proposed. So what role might Greenland play in the defense of America from that perspective? You know, if it was going to be the site for interceptor missiles, for example, that would take down ICBMs that are coming from Russia or China or North Korea, how would that work out? I'll just use maybe the distance tool. So let me go back. I'll just put our labels back on. So if an ICBM was coming from Russia, I think that it's probably going to come from this western area or from this eastern area in Siberia. So from the west here, you can see that Greenland is right in the way. So those ICBMs will fly across Greenland on their way to, particularly to the east coast of the US, and they'll be adjacent to it as they fly across to the west coast of the US. ICBMs over here in Siberia, and of course I don't know their exact locations, they're a long way away from Greenland. They can go to the west coast. They can strike places like, for example, Chicago here, and not come anywhere particularly close to Greenland. Going across to the east coast, then they're coming up against the Greenland landmass. Let's have a look at, say, North Korea. So if a North Korean missile was going to launch, it's basically goes nowhere near Greenland. It has a clear line of flight to all the way to either the east coast or the west coast of America. It's not going to go over Greenland or even significantly adjacent to Greenland. China, so if we had missiles launched, say, from here in western China, again going to the east coast, yes, it'll go over Greenland. The west coast, not so much. It's nowhere near Greenland on that trajectory. Going to Chicago again, yes, it's going to go quite near to Greenland. So that's just a different perspective on Greenland, looking at it from a different projection, so you can get a better view, a better idea of what this landmass actually looks like in reality, how it compares to Canada and northern United States, and where it lies geostrategically on those flight paths for ICBMs from Russia, North Korea, and from China. So thanks for watching.